Hey everybody, welcome back for some more Monster Train. There was some interest in seeing more of this in the comments of my initial Honest Opinions review, so I thought I'd come back and take another crack at it. Since the last time I recorded, I've actually unlocked I've unlocked the last faction, and it does something really interesting that kind of evolves the scope of the game really well. Really well. Um, so in a lot of games, you get escalation mechanics where you unlock more stuff, more options, more tools as you go along, and sometimes that's to make you more powerful. Like you're playing a first-person shooter, you get better weapons over the course of the game. Or maybe you get upgrades that make you stronger, faster, etc. And that's kind of a gating slash escalation mechanic, so that the game gets more exciting later on. You can take on bigger and more important enemies. Just make sure the volume is reasonably balanced. And it's very common in games like this and other roguelikes to unlock more weapons as you go along. And in the case of Slay the Spire and Monster Train, unlock more cards and more classes. It turns out Monster Train has a really nice kind of escalation of complexity, where you start out with just these two factions, the Hellhound, who are like the kind of the DPS faction. They hit reasonably hard. The Awoken, who are sort of tanky and do lots of healing. Two very straightforward factions. Like there's not, there's some nuance to playing them, but it's not the most complicated thing in the world. And you get the Stygian Guard, which we didn't see last time, but I had already unlocked at that point. These are focused around spells. So there's a little bit of complexity there because there's kind of an A plus B element of like setting up stacks of debuffs on enemy units to make your spells hit harder or deal increasing amounts of damage over time. Very similar to the Silent in Slay the Spire with like the poison, where you can stack up poison and it deals more and more damage, or increasing your spell damage for big turns with the Watcher. So it's kind of similar to that. But I think they have a bit more depth to them. Then you get the Umbra, who sacrifice little units called morsels. So I thought this was really cool. The early factions teach you that the Hellhound are very fragile and you need to protect them. So often I put these big tanky Awoken units in the front. And the idea is to have nothing ever die, right? You set up your units and hopefully protect them, because you don't get them back if they die. So you keep them there and try and establish this kind of firm, unbreakable defense that can last through your enemy's attrition. And the Awoken and Hellhound want to do it by just setting up big units. And then the Stygian Guard require you to take some more active participation. You need to use spells to protect your units by blowing the enemies up before they can attack. The Umbra introduce... they have these big monsters and then little things called morsels, which at the end of each turn, whichever creature is in the front of the floor will eat all the morsels on the floor, and they get benefits. So different morsels, there's like different types, and they provide benefits when eaten, like more health, more attack, life steal on the next attack, temporary damage shield, that sort of thing. And some of the monsters also have abilities that trigger when they eat morsels. So you can have the one I ended up using on my first run through was that when it ate a morsel, it gained an instance of lifesteal, which means the next time it attacks, it gains that much health. And you can stack up like 15 or something lifesteal on it, so that by the time it gets to the boss, it's just healing every time it attacks. And it just 1v1s the boss for you. You can have these quite cool interactions like that. Then you get the Remnants, Melting Remnants. So these are really cool. These are the first faction where, after all this training of like setting up these big defensive perimeters where you have these floors that are static once you've set them up, and sometimes you need spells to protect them, or you need to generate morsels with other spells or other units to feed them and keep them going. But generally speaking, they're fixed once you've got your perimeter set up. The Melting Remnants, one of their signature mechanics is called Burnout, which means that the unit says it ticks down every turn and then dies. So their units are like inherently more ephemeral than others, but they have ways of getting them back or of increasing their burnout value so they last longer, or kind of refreshing them. And so you end up with this much more dynamic, way more complicated playstyle. That's instead of having like, okay, I'm going to set up this combo on this floor, now your entire deck has to become a machine for like cycling and recycling these units. Very, very interesting. And I really like how the game introduces these, basic concepts. And then instead of just having units that are like, instead of just having factions that are more complicated or harder to pilot, which they are, but the Umbra and then the Remnant actively kind of subvert your expectations or the understanding you'd built up in the game so far. And I found that really satisfying. I think this is very, very clever. So let's go with... I've been doing a couple of Remnant Umbra. I don't think I've tried Remnant with Stygian backup yet, so maybe let's give those a try. Remnant Umbra is fun because you can use the big tanky Umbra units and feed them lots of morsels. And you can use the Remnant... the Remnant can bring back units, so it can bring back morsels, so you can spam them even more, which was quite fun. Here I'm going to be looking at recycling my ephemeral units and also using spells. So I'm going to be throwing stuff into and out of the battlefield at all times. So our final boss is going to remove half of any buffs or debuffs from the row. So we're going to have to avoid relying on those too much. So our basic cards are Entombed Explosive, which is when it dies, it deals a bunch of damage to the front enemy unit. This is quite a cool card. You can put it at the front, and the enemy attacks it first, then it hits back. And then you can get it back with your reborn mechanics. This is a good spell, nice bit of removal that doesn't have to target the front unit. And it applies this Frostbite, which is this game's equivalent of poison. So the unit takes damage equal to its amount of Frostbite at the end of the turn, and then that decreases every turn. I've never tried the Frostbite deck, but it looks really fun. So we could go that way. Deal damage to enemy units, all units, that's an AoE, equal to 3 times the number of friendly unit deaths this battle. That seems quite good. I've come to really value having AoE effects in this game, because like later on you get these encounters with... There's a unit that's got multi-strike, so it attacks twice, and it has 10 power, and it's 5 HP, and they sit behind like these big tanky things with like 130 health or 180 health. So being able to clear those off with AoE spells or removal is really valuable. I always like to look at the artifacts before I pick my champion. So what have we got? Whenever you play your 3rd spell of the turn, all your cards do 1 more damage for the rest of the battle. All units have an extra upgrade slot. This is amazing with Stygius because they have a lot of damage spells. In fact, let's just look at our deck. Here's our champion. We haven't given it abilities yet. So the Dreg card that you get 3 of is a very fragile but hard-hitting unit with Burnout. This thing is basically a spell. Like, it deals 9 damage and then 9 damage and then dies. It's expendable. You try and put it behind something because you don't want it to get hit, but 9 damage twice is quite good for a 0-cost unit. And then we have the Stygius one, which is Frozen Lance that attacks the front enemy units. It's kind of a worse version of this at this point, but obviously you can get these back because when the units die, they leave your deck. They don't get shuffled into your discard pile or anything. That didn't really come up in the previous run, but yeah, units normally are one and done in this game. And one of the exciting thing about Remnant is you can recur them. You can get them back. And we have a basic Train Stewards. So this is going to be really good for us. We're going to have lots of spells, because spells are good. We've already got quite a lot of spells. And permanently increasing the damage that they do over the course of the battle is really good. So I'm going to pick that. Right, champion options. We have, at the end of the turn, get back a unit. I love this card. This is, I tried to run with this and morsels, and it was super fun. So Reform brings back a unit. It permanently gives it Burnout 1, which means that if it doesn't have Burnout, it will die the turn after you play it. But if it does have Burnout, that number is increased. So it makes your dregs better. +5/+5, so nice bit of extra stats. And it makes it cost 0. So this is really powerful for, like, you throw your units in, you let them die, and you bring them back with more stats and more hitting power. This is quite nice with our explosive thing, the 0/5. Recurring that's really strong. The other option is this. So it's a very, very big unit, but it has Burnout. So we need to find ways to increase its Burnout value or recur it ourselves. Given that we didn't start with any of those cards, we have nothing in here that reforms a unit. I'm tempted to go with this one. I like to play this. I like to play this one at the top. Normally I put my champion on the bottom, on the first row, because they're powerful. But with this one I like to put it at the top so that it can survive longer and be threatened less. The start of unit battle, enemy units appear on each floor. We have one AoE effect and plenty of other... Oh, we have these as well. And plenty of other removal. But this takes a little while to get going, so I'm going to avoid this trial, I think. Right, so for those of you who didn't watch the initial video I made, which I'll put a link to in the description, just in case, but my initial review of this. Sorry, I should sit to one side so I don't... There we go. The lighting in my house is quite bad now for streaming. Maybe I'll close that curtain. That's fine. Yeah, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Monster Train, as you've probably seen from all this discussion of deck building and synergy and stuff, it's like Slay the Spire. The ways in which it is unlike Slay the Spire are you have this train that you can place units on. Slay the Spire doesn't have units, doesn't have things that persist from turn to turn. So this game adds both persistent creatures that sit around and do stuff for you, and this positional mechanic where units can be on different levels of the train, and they can also be in front of or behind each other, and the front unit gets attacked by enemies. Enemies that survive a turn move up a level, and if they get to the top, they get to attack this, which is basically your health. So it adds this kind of tower defense style mechanic to it. I'm very tempted to put this down. It will kill one of these eventually. Let's put... we can probably get away with putting this at the bottom, actually. Probably going to need the hitting power to make sure that these 40 health creatures don't get too far up. It means we'll lose the reforms when the boss is coming through, is the only problem. No, let's put it further up. It'll still kill them before they reach the top. We can get this down here, and a steward. We'll throw some spells at this thing. So this explosive is going to die in a couple of turns. Ooh, we should kill that. So far this does nothing, because nothing has died. I think I'm going to use a removal spell on this. If you kill these, you get gold, which is really valuable. If we play 2 more spells, we get the permanent magic power, which makes me not want to play this train steward. So if I kill this, and this, get the permanent bonus. So this is going to blow up on, well, I guess the boss when that comes through. And now we've drawn our dregs as well. Right, what do we do? This, I need to get rid of this so it doesn't hit the base. But maybe there's nothing I can really do about that. Let's get another one of these down here. And one of these. And then... I can't deal 18 damage to this turn, can I? No, this is... Oh, this is 19. So I could. Except I don't have enough capacity on this floor. So yeah, this is going to have to go up and hit the top bit. So instead, I'll set all of these up down here. As you can see, we're kind of lacking in damage output, which is a minor problem. I found this a challenge with the Remnants. Okay, so we're going to get a reasonable amount of damage on this. We can get some Frostbite on it to help as well. There we go. And it's going to take a much more damage. May as well throw that in, why not? And gone. Cool, what do we have? Reform a unit, that's a good start. So this lets us get our creatures back. In this case, you get to pick from any unit that's died. Molten Encasement. Extinguish applies stealth 1 to friendly units. So basically, when this dies, it means the rest of your units on that floor can't be attacked that turn. So putting this in front can essentially let you skip an entire turn of enemy attacks, but you still get to hit back. So this could be quite powerful to recur. And we've got this, which just hits like a ton of bricks. I'm very tempted by that, actually. That is a lot of damage. 20 damage, and we're going to be recurring it, so it's going to get the +5/+5. We don't really need lots of reforms yet. We need stuff that's actually going to die repeatedly, because our champion is going to get one of them back every turn. So in order to get value out of that, we actually need stuff to die. What do we got here? Apply spell weakness 1 to an enemy unit. So this is one of the signature abilities of the of the Stygians, which is having the ability to stack up double damage on enemy units. So spell weakness stacks multiplicatively. If you have spell weakness 3, each stack provides 2 for 8 times damage. Or each stack. The total stack provides 8 damage, 8 times the damage of the spell. So you can really, like, deal a lot. And then after that, the stacks are all consumed. So it doesn't diminish normally. So it's all about setting up these big turns. It doesn't do much by itself. Like, one instance of Energy Siphon isn't that exciting. And here's 2 AoE cards that I'm very tempted by. This one deals more damage, and you can use it to stack up hits on one enemy. Which is quite nice, but it's not reliably always going to hit the small things at the back. This gives Frostbite, and we've got 2 Frostbite Granters already. And it also can be cast for free if we find a way to discard it, which we don't currently have, but it might come up. So I think I'm going to pick this. So I can make my spells cheaper and get a Stygian unit, or I can make my units better and get a Remnant unit. Forging my spells is kind of exciting, actually, because we've got this and this as expensive cards. And making them cost 1 less is hugely impactful, usually. And we don't really have good units to forge. Like, I'm hoping to get rid of these train stewards at some point. Making the dregs way bigger doesn't do very much, because they're just... they just die after a while, so stacking them up with lots of HP and even damage isn't that useful. Buffing this might be good, though. There's an upgrade you can get that gives additional burnout as well as stats. So that is kind of tempting. Plus we get more Remnant units, which maybe means more stuff to reform. More creatures with burnout. That said, there are some very good Stygian units that can provide strong utility for the sort of spell half of our plan. Yeah, let's go for this. I think this is the first time I've ever not chosen to buff my units. But this will be well worth it. So making this cost 2 is going to make it so much stronger. This one is quite useful because you can put it on bad cards. And then you don't have to draw them repeatedly. So throwing this on a Frozen Lance makes it, like, good. Because Frozen Lance is not a strong card. Like, 6 damage is nice, but 6 damage to the front enemy unit usually does nothing, because the front enemy unit usually has a lot of health. But 26 damage to the front enemy unit, and filter this out of my deck so I don't have to worry about it again, is quite nice. I don't think we really have anything... So this upgrade's really cool. Basically it means that a card with Permafrost doesn't get discarded after you draw it. It sticks around until you play it. Which is quite nice. The other option is to reroll and get 2 more stat upgrades, which might mean we can make this cost 1, or make this cost 1, which would be really nice. And I don't think we really have anything that I want to cling on to for dear life. So let's go with the reroll. Oh, here we go. Right, let's make this cost... Yeah, making this do more damage isn't that important, considering it already has the Frostbite. So just being able to throw that out and stack up the Frostbite is going to be really nice. I'll give the damage buff to one of these, or maybe this. Oh yeah, this is good, because now this is useful with no deaths. Because it always deals at least 10. And 2 mana for a 10 damage AoE is pretty good. Yeah, that was definitely worth it over upgrading the units. Our units are kind of trash, but like, that's fine. Revenge, apply Frostbite 3 to enemy units. That's really cool. Draw 1 and this unit gets -5. Oh, that's nice as well. So whenever you cast a spell, you draw an extra card and this unit takes damage. I would love to play this alongside the Awoken healing spells at some point. That would be really fun. This seems super cool though. I wanted to try out the Frostbite build, and we've got 3 Frostbite effects. And the more the merrier, like they get better in numbers, so that's actually really good. Because it has 0 attack, it's kind of a bit meh to put in the front, but we are hopefully going to, later down the line, we can get an upgrade to give it more attack and health. Non-boss enemy units enter with Spikes 3, and we get more money. Spikes 3 is kind of bad for us, because we have 9 3s, and even though we can recur them, I'd rather recur them after they burn out naturally and get more value out of them, because we only get 1 reform a turn, so let's leave that off. Right, so we can put this down here, get max value out of it. I love that we've drawn this already, that's super nice. It's going to do a bunch of damage to that, and then it's going to die, but we're going to get it back, so it's okay. And I have just enough mana left to throw out a flash freeze on... What does this do? Oh yeah, this makes me draw a card I don't want next turn. It adds like a dud card to the top of your deck. So yeah, we'll just kill that. So that died. Oh, this triggered first. Okay. So we'll get our Drek or whatever it is back next turn. Let's see. Oh, these kill themselves on the Frostbite. I don't know if their ability still resolves, but that's quite nice to know. It would be good to get rid of these. If I play this, it will nearly kill this and blow up the Collector, and we can put a Dreg down to deal the rest of the damage. So now that's going to die. I'd like to play this just to make it available for recurring. I want this to keep getting hit so that it gets more Frostbite on stuff. Let's do that. That's just a huge amount of damage. So now we've got our draft back. You notice that it's bigger and has more burnout as well. So the burnout stacks. So the reform on units that didn't start with burnout is kind of bad because they have... they then gain burnout, so they only last 1 turn. But if the unit had burnout already, it stacks on top of it. So you actually get more power out of it. Which is really, really good. Oh, the boss is coming in next turn, so maybe playing this now is good. Rather than discarding it. It'll stick around for 1 turn, enough to hit the boss for a bit. So do that. This is going to get burnouted anyway. So I don't really care about it getting hit and dying. Let's play this here, and then I can reform something. I can probably... Not this, because he'll trigger first. This leaves 1 slot, basically, for me to play something else next turn, whether it's another Dreg or not. I may as well just play these. They'll kill the Forged Disciple for me. Whatever. Right. Well, it looks like everything's going to die. So I don't have to do anything here. But I can. It's always fun to see if I can get my units to last a bit longer. Or survive combat. Which is a fun challenge. This unit is super cool. So every time it gets hit, it applies 3 more stacks of Frostbite. And then the enemy unit takes damage equal to the amount of Frostbite stacks. And then that decreases by 1. So every time it gets hit, and it applies 3, so the boss takes 3, and then loses 1 to 2. And then it gets hit, so the boss goes up to 5 Frostbite, so it takes 5 and goes down to 4. So every turn it takes 2 more damage than it took last turn. For as long as the the... I forgot what it's even called, but as long as that creature is still up. Another draft. This seems good. They're doing work for us. I do like this unit. I kind of want to try it, but I think I need these to get my resolve synergy working. Ooh, this is one of the best cards for spell damage decks. We don't have the spell damage enhancers yet, though. We are going more in the frostbite direction. This card is quite good because it allows you to discard the offering cards and play them for free. And it otherwise helps you sort of cycle through your deck at the cost of a card if you don't have anything with offering to discard to it. It does make the offering cards like this one much better in the future. Like, this card is pretty strong, I think. But if paying 3 for that is so expensive, whereas discarding it and getting it for free is pretty sweet. We do have one offering card. And we also have the thing that stacks up magic power every time we play spells. So having spells that we can use for cheap to motor through our deck is pretty good. Yeah, sure. Right, so now we can buff our units. Or we can restore pyre health, which you don't really need, get an artifact. And either way we get a concealed caverns roll. Let's go this way. So always check what the unit is first. This is a really cool card. It applies spell weakness and it attacks everything in an area. This is obviously really good for the spell weakness build, which we're not really doing. Like I have declined to pick a couple of spell weakness cards. Instead, we're going more in the frostbite sort of direction, which may cause trouble with us for the final boss. But I think we'd have the same thing either way, because it can purge off the spell weakness too. This just gets bigger every time you play a spell, which is still quite good. I think those buffs are going to be relatively marginal, but we could use some like reasonably big tanky units, because right now I am lacking a little bit in damage output. Let's do this as well, just so we know we have as much information as possible before we go into buffing our stuff. Oh, what's this? The Bone Shaker stops near the abandoned remains of a train, looking to have belonged to a merchant. So we can get a random Hellhorn consumable card, a random Awoken consumable card, or a random Melting Remnant consumable card. Well, we are looking to stack up synergies, so this could give us something that reforms our minions. The Awoken cards often give like regen, which we're not really using. Hellhorn, similarly, they give like attack buffs, which we're hoping to do that by reforming our stuff instead of stacking effects on them, so probably want this. Apply Burnout 3 to friendly Burnout units. So this allows us to keep our Burnout units going longer, which is quite cool, actually. That's really good with our double attacking units. Let's try it. Let's try it. I've never played with this card before. Why not? Let's give it a go. Cool. So, upgrade a unit with gain armor 1 when you cast a spell. This could be good with our unit that already has an incant ability, but it's quite a minor buff. This I was really hoping to get because it's really good on our Titan Sentry. Giving it some attack goes a long way because we're going to be spending slots on this thing, and giving it more health means it can apply more stacks of Frostbite before it dies. The other option is putting it on these, but I think this is the priority. Endless is quite nice. It allows a unit to go back to the top of the deck when it dies instead of dying. Since we're using Reform to recur our units, I think this is mostly a downside. I may as well use this. I think stacking up, like making this more survivable seems like a good idea. Getting a little bit more value out of our incant triggers. Right, do we want to reroll and get another upgrade, or do we want to purge a card? I think we want to purge a card. Let's dump one of these. Or maybe a Frozen Lance? Can I fit all of the units in yet? I have a champion and these two, and then 4 train stewards. That's 7 units that have 2 capacity, so yeah, I can't. So let's get rid of a steward. Right, on to the boss fight. Here's hoping. This might be a tough one. This Daedalus has the constructed explosive explode twice. This is by far the most horrible mode for this boss. So he makes these bombs that deal 10 damage to the thing in front of them when they attack. And this makes them deal 10 twice. So either lots of damage to the front thing, or kill 2 things. I really want to put this here. It will take 30 damage. And then kill everything. Probably better off waiting a turn. I can kill one of them with this. Let's put you up here. In safety. These things have... The attack on these clergymen diminishes every turn. So putting the Titan Sentry up here will make it do a lot more. I'm going to play this offering token and just hope we land an AoE spell. Let's discard that. Because the other thing I can do is kill 2 of them now. Get my permanent magic power. So this one will take 20 damage. It'll also put 9 stacks of Frostbite on Daedalus, which is pretty good. But I don't have any healing. I can get it back with Resolve. I guess. You know, having this thing on the bottom is by far more beneficial than anything else. So let's do it. Oh, I forgot to take into account the double attack. Ooh, my my sentry's in trouble. Right, well, I can kill these 2. Let's set up our Siren, let's say here. Ooh, I need something to chump block this. We can throw the Entombed Explosive in here. It will absorb one of the shots and hit Daedalus, but we need to absorb the other one as well. Or I just play this to save them. I think I'm going to have to sacrifice this. Or no, I can use the Titan's Tooth, can't I? Yeah, let's do that instead. That stacks up more Frostbite on him too. And then we can play this here. So this sentry is going to be in trouble. But that's okay. Oh, it's not even going to die this turn because these 2 don't have high enough attack. That's great. What have we got here? Go away. Yeah, let's get some dregs down here. And a steward. And yeah, let's keep these going for a bit. So I should get back... Oh, nothing's died yet. Okay. Oh boy. Right, well this is going to die, but it's going to put Frostbite on all of these, which is going to kill them all. And then I'm going to get it back with Resolve. Which is sort of alright. So I think I just let that happen. Let's play one of these here. Get that damage stacked. Might throw this at Daedalus. I can use this to ensure that this dies. Instead, we get an incant trigger, which is nice. Are they... What happened to the Frostbite? Does it not count if they die? Well, that's weird. Huh. Let's do that so I don't lose all my stuff. Seems like a good idea. Yeah, baby. That was a good draw. Daedalus is just dying to Frostbite, so let's keep that going. Basically, just need to buy enough time for the Frostbite to get the kill. Let's play this, because it hits real hard. There we go, now he's going to die. Job done. So, what have we got? Enhance all spells in your hand with +5 magic power. This is a sweet card that seems like it might be really good, actually. So this makes your spells permanently stronger. And it doesn't have consume, so you can just keep stacking up the damage, which is quite nice for our AoE spells. It'll help us clear out big-ish units later on. This is pretty cool. For what we're doing. So there's a difference between apply and enhance in this game. So apply just gives like a buff to a unit that is lost if the unit dies. Enhance is permanent, so that every time the unit gets recurred, it gets more, in this case 40 more attack. So this might be a good good starting point for doing some truly horrific stuff with our Reform champion. This gives permanent bonus attack and extra burnout. That's pretty cool as well, actually. That's kind of the same thing as this, but less faffy, albeit with less powerful payoff. The cool thing about this is that if Formless Child and another unit die, Formless Child gives you the first unit back, and then our champion can give us the Formless Child back. It does cost 2, though. I might honestly take this. I guess this doesn't really work with the Frostbite plan, in that, like, making this deal more damage is okay, but stacking up Frostbite is what does the actual work. I don't know how many damaging spells we're actually going to end up with. But we do have... It is really good with the AoEs. No, let's do that. I'm liking blowing up lots of... Ooh, more Frostbite. That's good. This is a really nice card. Keeps your burnout units going for a long time. And is maybe a better tank for us than the Siren of the Sea. But I think if we're going for the Frostbite build, let's go for the Frostbite build. More mana is usually the pick. This might be helpful. We have quite a lot of units. Like, right now we've got 3 tanky units plus our champion. And these, which hopefully we're going to get rid of at some point. And all these dregs and explosives that we're hoping to recur and repeatedly move around. And our cards aren't that expensive. That said, I have been finding myself down on mana quite a bit. So let's play this. Let's take this. But we'll pick the capacity for the next upgrade, I think. So we can get some money, duplicate a card, which is quite nice, and get a remnant unit, or remove some stuff, upgrade our spells, and heal. And then either way we get a champion. I think this is better. I really want to get rid of the train stewards. These just aren't doing much. Upgrade a spell to gain holdover. When played, this card is placed on top of your draw pile next turn. So we could use this to spam one of the Frostbite generators. Or this, which just does a bunch of AoE damage. Like, we could make the Titan's Tooth come back repeatedly and generate loads and loads of Frostbite and always have an AoE effect, which seems quite good, actually. And then we could also make it hit. No, we've already. Oh, we've already used all upgrades on the Titan Stone, so we can't do that. We can do it on the other AoE spell, but I think I might make it cost less instead. Making this cost 1 is really nice. And it's better than making it do 20 damage, because the difference between, like... There's basically 2 relevant amounts of damage in this game for spells that I've found. And it's like about 10 and like 100. Because killing the big units, they just have so much HP. Like, at the moment we're seeing units with, 40 health, but towards the end of the game, which is when your build really matters, they do a lot more. They have like 130, 160 quite common life totals. So having a spell deal 10 or 20 damage is not that big of a deal. But making sure you can kill the things at the back, which might have 5 or 6 HP or have a bit of armor on them, is really useful. So I think making this cost 1 is more valuable. This might actually be a game where we end up trying to get the... There's an artifact that gives you extra upgrade slots on your spells. It's quite nice. Along those lines, making this deal more means you can snipe off one of these units before it attacks, which is quite valuable. I don't have enough money to go for a reroll. Heal the pyre for a small amount. And... So I can do this, which... The plus 5 health when a unit dies does add up relatively quickly, but not that quickly. I think this is better. We're at the point where, like, we're struggling to regularly reform units, but I found, like, in the last game, I had, like, 3 units die in the same turn. And that overwhelmed the RNG on the reform, so I didn't always get the ones I wanted. Enemy units entered with spikes 4 for an artifact. That does kill the dregs in 1 hit, which is not necessarily bad. Given that we can get 2 of them back every turn, it's like kind of okay. So I might put this on. I think we are lacking something. Like, we do need some more hitting power. So I think I take this. We also conveniently have a 0.35 to attack with. I might regret this. In fact, I'm going to modify that statement. I'm probably going to regret this. Okay, you up there. You down here. Right, so I've got another one of these now, so maybe I actually want the Siren down here. Oh, it doesn't hit very hard. I guess it's better than a Train Steward. I shouldn't have picked this card. It's just not that good. I think you have to be playing a lot of... I guess, like, if you have a deck that has a lot of spells, and, once you've played all the units, your deck is full of spells, it is going to get, like, +5/+5 every turn. So maybe it is just worth it. We also have a problem here where we have these units that gain armor when you play spells, so it's a bit risky. Do I play this? It will die and hit this for 35, and then we get it back. That seems like a good idea. And we have enough mana for this. And we still get a Frostbite stack because of this attacking into the spikes, which is really nice because it kills the small one at the back. We'll do this, which should kill that with the Frostbite. Yep. Let's get some drafts down. So worth playing this? Yeah, I think so. So here's one of the coolest things about Burnout and how it interacts with stuff. These entombed creatures, they get better when they have Burnout on because you can trigger them more reliably. The other cool thing about these is that because they're so expendable, like it's going to die anyway, right, with Burnout units, you can put them at the front. And they'll absorb damage, and then like whether or not they die, they've done their job. So you can kind of chomp block with them if you're familiar with that piece of terminology. This is going to die to the spikes. This is going to die anyway. Yeah, let's put this... I don't really care about that train steward, so let's put this here. I do care about my siren. Let's try and protect that. So snipe this off. Let's play some spells. Get rid of that, why not? Now this is going to die, that's great. Does that die before it gets the incant? No, I think it just dies anyway because it dies to the frostbite. You know what? That's interesting. Triggers when you cast a spell. Oh, cool. So if the spell kills it, you still get the incant value. That's pretty cool. Let's play this. It's going to kill itself, but that's okay. We're going to get it back. See, now we're starting to see the engine come together. This is way more like it. And you notice they have burnout too, so they last longer now as well. Do I need to kill this? No, it's going to die anyway. Thanks, Frostbite. Oh, whoops. I played that on the wrong floor. Give this the bonus health. Why don't I run out these and then use the bonus burnout spell to make them last a while. That is actually slightly better, even though it gets the 10 armor. And we get the incant on this. Oh, and it triggers this. That's good. Right. I've left myself with no capacity to play this further down. But that's okay. These are going to die on the spikes. That's also okay. This will kill itself in a couple of turns, and then we'll get it back. Let's get this out of my hand. Is there a way I can kill this before... 18 plus 12 is 30. Doesn't quite get there, but I think with 2 spells I can do it. I'd quite like these to survive for a bit longer. There we go. May as well play these because it buffs up my siren. Right. Need to get rid of these for best effect. I can play an entombed thing. I don't have slots for that, capacity-wise. But I can play this, which is quite good. But let's start with the offering token. Right, let's discard this because I can't make use of it this turn. That's great, that's an AoE spell. We want that. Buff all my spells up, that's really nice. If I play this first... Oh, it doesn't matter, does it? So now stacking up a nice little chunk of damage here. Get back our Entombed Explosive. Like I mentioned this last time, but like, I really like the art in this game. The sort of relatively simple animations aren't normally my thing, but the art itself is phenomenal. I really like the way they've illustrated the cards and characters. Right. So we are full up on slots. These are going to burn themselves out. But we can at least stack up a little bit more of the old damage first. So let's do this. I should have done this first, actually. Never mind. So much frostbite. There we go. It's nearly dead now. Let's play this up here. And this as well. Oh, we got our sentry back. So the problem with burnout units is they don't last very long in boss fights, which can be a little spooky. But we now have enough stacked up spell damage and dead creatures to kill them with that. What is that? Titan's Claws. At the end of the turn, frozen cards cost 0. Well, we don't have any freezing effects yet, so I could just skip this for a little bit of money. But I feel like this is going to be quite powerful if we can get anything like that. There is a Stygian card that freezes things at the end of turn, which is really good. Remove all debuffs from friendly units and all buffs from enemy units. Wow, I've never seen that before. That's cool. Is that going to be good? I don't know. This seems good. For a huge burst of mana. Although right now we are not particularly choked on that. More on slots on the board. This, however, is pretty nice, I think. Although most of the time we're going to have it. We're going to have enough just based on the champion. But it does mean we can get back stuff that died last turn instead of 2 turns ago. Let's do it. Discard your hand, draw 5. This is obviously good for the offering style cards. Deal 1 damage to a random enemy unit 5 times. This is very good with our thing that gives +5. This, +5 magic power. Other than that, it's like not very exciting. Is that worth it? Probably not, honestly. Like, keeping your deck from getting too large in this game is quite important. So you can consistently draw the stuff you do want. And this synergy is quite cool. But still is going to take a long time to get it. So if I cast Harness the Titan on it 3 times during a game, it deals 80 damage, which is like pretty good. But probably not. It's not really much before then. You know what? The more AoE, the merrier. Let's do it. So, we can get more spell upgrades, which could give us magic power for the spell we just picked up, actually, which would be really good. An artifact and card removal, or an artifact, some money, which is good because the artifact is very expensive, and a concealed cavern. I think this side is a lot better. So let's do this first. Apply Daze 3 to enemy units that are moved between floors outside of the Ascension phase. We don't have any cards that do that. Oh, here we go. This is perfect. At the end of the turn, apply Frozen to a random card in your hand. This card is this artifact is fantastic. So Frozen means that the card isn't discarded at end of turn; it sticks around. This is really nice with the Reform champion because you can empty your hand, get some stuff reformed, and then it gets frozen. You get to keep it the following turn if you don't have space to play it. Because you can basically fill up your hand with 0-cost units that you can deploy as and when you have the ability to. So it's really nice for like keeping around burnout units, keeping around reformed units. Right, are there any... Yeah, there's one of these left to get rid of. And I guess the next thing to look at is one of the Frozen Lances. This has been okay. Actually, this has been fine. This has been fine. One of the explosives, maybe? A Dreg? The Dregs aren't that good. And having lots of spells does mean we get more use out of our Harness the Titan and the amulet that gives magic power. Whereas I am currently running into capacity issues. So let's cut a Dreg. Right. 20 magic power and consume. Damn. I want the other one that just gives 10 magic power. Let's start with this. Making this cost 0 seems kind of good, actually. So I could do another 26 damage Frozen Lance. That's probably a good thing to do. I can do this. But the consume is kind of rough. I'm going to do the Frozen Lance, and then I'm going to reroll, and hopefully get the one I want. There we go. Yeah, baby. Now this card's great. Making things cost 0 is my jam. I want to leave this so I can get another magic power stone on it. So having one of these cost 0 is probably the next thing to do. I guess the smaller one. Cool. It's funny, I quite like the more expensive upgrades on the units, but I don't get them very often on spells, because, like, a lot of them feel like downsides. Actually, that's the unit ones are similar. Like, sometimes giving units quick is bad. Like, quick is it attacks first. Because you want them to, like, if they have slay abilities, you want which trigger when they kill things, you want your other units to soften enemies up first. Oh, this is annoying. This boss attacks 5 times a turn. Hopefully that means she's going to give herself a lot of frostbite, but it's still going to be a challenge for us. This is also annoying. These are very frustrating when you're eating morsels, in particular. Every time a unit dies, they gain 10 health. Or 10 armor. We might be able to take this, actually. We now have 3 AoE spells that can deal with a floor full of randomers. So that might be good. I could use the money. My units aren't very upgraded. So, do we have... Yeah, we got at least one bit of AoE. If I do this, they'll all die at end of turn. Clear these off. Play this. This will just immediately die, so let's play it. I want to play it, because I want to get it back with this. But I can't play it anywhere where it does anything. I actively don't want it down here, because it will trigger the tank's ability. In that case, I guess it doesn't matter. Oh, sweet. I forgot about the freeze effect. Right. This could be good. Here. Blowing up this lot would also be maybe nice. The tank is actually helpfully stood in front, so I can kill it with this. Or hit it with this. Let's see, if I play an explosive and a siren, start on this. These are going to die anyway, so there's no point playing that AoE spell. Play this drag. Get the AoE effect in. This is going to get its armor. Hit it with that. I could just discard this to get the this drag away from the restore pool, but I actually don't want that. No, I will keep this. Oh yeah, I forgot about... keep forgetting about this. Which is perfect. Yeah, these overcharged tanks are just such a problem. Right, this will start helping us motor through things on the ground floor. Let's get a sentry down though. Probably want that more. So that puts you up here. Let's buff our spells up, why not? That would kill... not much, actually. This brings this low. That's going to die anyway. Oh, we need to get rid of this so it doesn't hit the top. What do we get? I can discard this, actually. I think I want both these cards this turn. Damn, it's not going to die. It'll die to the pyre. Although it's going to 33, so it'll get 2 hits in. Oh yeah, I have to play this. Right. The engine has started to come together. Let's play this. Get some pressure on these. I feel like throwing a bunch of frostbite on this tank might be a good idea. Let's play this. What if I play both of them? That way this gets hit. May as well throw this out. So this will just reform a dreg, I think, like a normal dreg. It's not worth it. We'll keep it in hand with the freeze. Yeah, there he is. Man, this card is really good. Right. This can do some damage. Is it enough to kill that? Let me see if I can draw my Titan's Offering. No. Oh, I should have kept that. Whoops. What are you doing? Dying. Good. Reform. Let's do that. Go away, mate. Can I deterministically keep this in hand? Yes. Hi. Right. Harness the Titan. Spell's getting big. Let's play this to tank some hits. And then we throw all the frostbite in the world at it. $26. That's less than I expected. This is going to deal 48 damage, but it's going to deal more if we wait a turn. My goodness. Right, let's play out some more dregs then. This would now be the place to use that. Oh, we've got the Titan's Tooth in hand, so this gets to draw a card. Straight up. Get some more damage. More damage. More damage. More damage. Even more damage. That was pretty good. Got it to the point where it was taking 64 damage a turn every time it attacked. I've just noticed that the light behind me's gotten a little brighter. I'm looking real dim on the camera. Do excuse me while I swap over. Actually, you know what? This is like a reasonable place to end this video and make it part 1. Because this I've now been recording for an hour. So let's call this part 1. And I'll come back with part 2 on probably Thursday, is the current plan. And we will see the thrilling conclusion to this tale of daring do and candle men. I do love the candle men. They're very good. Little candle people. There we go. So let's crack these packs before we wrap up. Why not? Oh, this is a cool card. So this is it deals 5 damage, but it deals more damage each time it gets a kill. Unfortunately, we're near the end of the run, so it's not going to be as good. This is nice for what we're doing, but we've already got one, and it doesn't stack very well, especially as our champion does sort of the same thing. This is okay. I don't know if I want to dilute my deck by including it. Basically means your units can't be attacked for 2 turns. That doesn't affect their burnout, though. It doesn't mean they get to hit, but given that we have like burnout units aplenty and the Titan sentries that only actually do anything when they get hit, this is bad for us. And then we have this happy chappy who makes our spells deal way more damage, which is quite a nice little card. This makes it so that units skip their next attack. Their units, not ours, so that's quite good. But again, it takes up a slot in our deck and doesn't help with burnout. And then this isn't really what we want. This card is quite good. Like, sap is a pretty strong effect. Basically, I guess a lot of enemies, it makes their attacks negligible. And even against bosses, it's quite good. But it's not really what we're doing. I am tempted by this, though. It makes all our AoEs better. And in particular, is quite good with Ice Storm. The downside is it takes up a slot, and we're already quite starved for those. Although we are going to get another one after the next boss fight, which is in a little while. No, you know what? We've already got Harness the Titan doing this. We don't need the Mollusk Mage as well. Oh, that was slightly anticlimactic. Found nothing we wanted. Right. I will come back to this in the next boss fight, and then the final rounds in part 2. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you next time for the thrilling finale.